Hey, welcome back here to the Central PA Pour. I am Brett, and to my left is Kevin. Holy shit, you changed.
I did. Wasn't that a transformation?
No, we actually have a special guest here, Vicky Jeffers from Brewery Products, who we released her episode earlier this season, and she decided to guest host for us. So welcome back.
Hello, everybody. Back again.
And then Dave's off to my right.
Here I am again.
And as we're recording this, we are in a funk of a weather pattern.
A funk of a weather.
We are. It's in May, and I thought April showers are supposed to bring May flowers.
Right.
There are flowers,
but
there's still the rain.
We still got a lot of rain.
Yep,
Still
a lot of rain.
But by this episode comes out, we're hopefully at the late summer, and we've all had a great summer, and things are ready to kick off for the fall. So what's been going on with you, Vicky, since we recorded with you?
So exciting news. I know you guys will post it, but we are getting the Budweiser Clydesdales the last week in June, June 25th to the 30th. So keep watch at Brewery Products Facebook. We're having them at Flinch Balls, Orchards, and Farm Market in Pelham. They're sharing information as well. And, just come on down and see us. It's going to be a fun week.
Ah, cool. Dave, what's been going on? You've been doing a kitchen remodel as we're recording this.
Geez, I was hoping you'd forget about that. Yeah, we're remodeling the kitchen, and it's tough. I mean, right now it's like we're camping because we have no kitchen sink, and we won't have one for about another 8 or 9 days.
As it's raining, you can collect all that rainwater.
It's easier just to go into the bathroom if I want to get it out of the bathroom sink. But it's been kind of tough. And it's so funny because I can't break the habit. Every time I turn around to put something in the sink, it's not there, and I'm like,
crash.
Yeah. So,
well, hey, Vicky, we're glad to have you sit in here for us as a guest host. Dave, we're going to have some fun here. We do have a wonderful guest here, and that is the reason we had Vicky here, because she actually made this connection for us. But before we bring him into studio, make sure you give us a like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast audio at Central PA Pour on YouTube as well, and anywhere on the social media. So let's bring in our guest. Let's welcome Norm from Funk Brewing. And I did do a little funk in the weather as we're recording this, kind of a little pun. Did you hear that?
I did. I heard that. You're being a little misdemeanor Elliot, huh? Can't stand the rain?
Yep, can't stand the rain. So, hey, welcome to the Central PA Pour. We're happy to have John Norman with us. So tell us a little bit about John Norman and Funk Brewing.
Man, well, there's a lot to unpack. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. About me, I'm John Norman. I go by Norm. Only my mom really calls me John. Just because there's a lot of Johns. There's nothing wrong with that name. So I go by Norm. Husband, a dad, a high school rugby coach, lots of things. And Funk Brewing, something that my brother-in-law and I started in 2014, and in the hopes of just making some really cool beers. And it's been a wild 10 years. And I imagine that's what we're going to dig in on, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So your brother-in-law and you, kind of read your backstory here a little bit. He had some background in it, or was doing some home brewing, or how did that all come about, Norm?
Yeah, that's right. By the way, feel free to call me John.
I'm going to interrupt here. I said, do they actually yell Norm when you walk into the tap room? I mean, I just had to ask that.
Yeah. So yeah, not everywhere I go, but I'll tell you what, it never gets old when people are like, no, like I love it every time. Right. But one time, a really good friend of mine, we went to Boston. Like a couple of us just went to Boston to check it out, and we went to go visit. I forget what it's called in real life. We went to visit there, and he goes, wait here. And he went in and told everybody what was going on. And so I got a Norm. That was weird because it doesn't look exactly the same, but it was really awesome to go into the real cheers. And
that would be cool. So, our missing partner went it. He was there.
Yeah, he was there. He
brought us some mugs back from Cheers.
I do miss that. Was one of my favorite shows, man. I cried to episode. Speaking of Norm, it's like, what's going down? Well, it's a dog eat dog world, and I'm wearing milk bone underwear.
Heck yeah.
So continue your stories.
All right, I think we're so the start. It started. Yeah. So Kyle was a mechanical engineer. And my background was business. I worked for Enterprise Rent a Car for 16 years, which is a dinosaur for that place in a great way. And I actually homebrewed first. It's not me first because I did bad. I went to I took one of my daughters to a pottery class in Lancaster. And I went there and they're like, yeah, you don't stay here. Just come back. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And there was a homebrew store, Mr. Steve's Homebrew right next door in the strip mall. And I hung out there and I left with stuff for my turkey fryer. And I made a pretty bad beer. And then, so my partner's name's Kyle Funk, hence the Funk. He was like, I'm going to give that a try. And he went to a homebrew store. He lives in Allentown and gave it a go. And he did pretty good. And then he could repeat because he was an engineer. He could repeat and he built a system in his garage just as like a kit guy. Like he wired his own control panel. Like it was insane. So that was that. And we went to a school in Colorado, an immersion course, to learn how to do it. And I went with the business guy and he went with the brew guy. And we got a bank to loan us some money. And that was it. In 2014, we started making some beer.
You had the bug and it couldn't leave, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, man, I was an avid AB, and I'm not just saying this, right? I was an avid AB guy. So I worked for Enterprise Rent a Car, like I said, and I'd gone through. So I always liked Bud Light, and Enterprise is in St. Louis, and they were very tight. So every time I went to an Enterprise event, it was Budweiser, everything, and I loved it. So I actually am a Michelob regular, just black and yellow Michelob I love it. And I didn't do craft beers until 30 years old. I was like, I was definitely one of those guys. I'm good. Like, I know what I like. I like this. I'm fine. And it was actually a Dogfish Head 60 Minute that did it for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's a good one to get into.
Yeah. My wife thought the packaging was cute. And that was that. My kegerator, I didn't have a Bud K. It was the first, matter of fact, so it was the very first season of Thursday Night Football, right? When the NFL started doing that.
Yep.
And I didn't have, and my kegerator was out of Bud. And I was like, man, I got home from work. And I'm like, I'm not going out for a keg. And my wife was getting a pizza. I was like, can you just grab me a 6-pack of whatever? And she was like, I'm going to get an out Bud. I'm like, whatever. And that was that. And I loved it. I drank all 6. I was drunker than I would be off of 6. Dogfish Head, I was a corporate trainer at the time. So I had a class to give the next day. And so when I was going to bed, I'm like, this is going to be a problem tomorrow. And, but I woke up and I felt fine. And I realized, oh, hey, perhaps there's something to craft beer, like being maybe a little better for you and the whole nine. And that just like you said, that is the moment the bug hit me.
Yeah. It's like, the craft beer thing was kind of kicked in us as well. And it's like, as we went down this path, that let's make our beer nights a podcast. So we kind of started that venture, but same thing. We would bring stuff around to, hey, let's try this, let's try that. And it just kind of just kept rolling. And, I'm not going to say anything bad, but you drank Bud.
I drank Bud. That's what I drank for many, many years.
No wonder you like IPAs.
It was the strongest thing we made. And I mean, it wasn't until I was a lot older that I actually went to a light beer for the calorie reasons more than anything.
Ooh, good segue. Because you deserve what every individual should enjoy regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an awesome story of how you guys did it. I mean, was this an idea like you were with Enterprise for 16 years? Is this something like, hey, I want to do something on my own? Or is it just kind of happened and fell that way?
No, well, certainly not making beer, not this world. But like, so a little joke inside of Enterprise, and it's a quote from Step Brothers by Will Ferrell, but like as a big joke is that Enterprise gives you the tools to be your own boss. And it does light that for a lot of folks end up doing something, you know what I mean? And it does kind of light that fire for you of, hey, I want like maybe an entrepreneurial spirit. Cause everybody starts at the bottom here. We're doing a podcast about Enterprise Rent a Car. I could talk about it for an hour. I love it. But basically they start you out at the beginning of a business and learn how to clean a car, but then you learn every part of everything and how to manage and how the balance you are. And it really does. It kind of gives you a full picture, and you end up, your next level is you run a whole office, like an Enterprise Rent a Car office, and you're managing that whole business as the manager in it. It's pretty, so it gives you that edge. Sorry for the long shout out to Enterprise.
So I was going to ask where the name came from, and then you basically gave it away, your partner's last name. But what made you use that?
Well, because he was adamantly wanted to call it Awesome Brewing.
Oh, okay. Probably not a good idea.
And I said, and he was like, that's it, man. Like, you say my beers are awesome. And I'm like, they are awesome. He's like, then that's what it should be. I'm like, well, good luck. I'm out. So good luck with Awesome Brewing. And like, we just couldn't agree. And then she was like, dude, your last name's Funk. And he's like, my last name's Funk. And here we are.
Yeah, it was a good choice. It's
good
catchy.
choice,
Yeah, it works.
And I love the logo. I mean, the logo is pretty cool too. So, but speaking of beer, we got one sitting here. So
Let's do it.
This was the it's a double, right? Double India Pale. This is the double disco. So tell us a little bit about what goes into your disco series. And I guess you have several different varieties of the disco, or is it only this one?
Yes. So Silent Disco, we had outgrown our space a few years into it. And we wanted to contract brew, but we were very nervous about it. And back then people weren't doing it. Well, people were, but people didn't know about it. Right.
Right.
And the craft beer scene wasn't really ready for it per se. So we were like, let's build a beer that's only made contract so that when people have it, they won't go, oh, it's different. Because it's not different. It's never, you know what I mean? You've never had it not contract brewed. So that was it. And we did make a batch of it in-house, right, to figure it out. But it was, we called it T-Rex. And it turns out there's a lot of T-Rex beers and T-Rex style things. So we had to find something else. We ran into a Silent Disco at a Great American Beer Fest. And back then it blew our minds. Like, so now they're pretty common, I guess, but blew our minds at the time. And that was it with the name. But that's where it came from. We were brewing at Great Central in Chicago. Is the place that we found it, because the only place that would do it the way we wanted. So back then, they were all busy, and everybody was like, "Well, this is our house yeast that we use, or our house grain, or our house whatever." And we're like, "That's not gonna, that's not it." So, I mean, we learned a lot of hard lessons. One is don't contract in the middle of the country if you're on the East Coast. But they were awesome partners. So we learned a ton. Oh, so all that to say, so Silent Disco's been around for a lot. It's a big hit. So Citrus is our flagship, and Silent Disco, and they kind of go together. And there's a cute like, are you team Citrus or Disco? I'm Disco, but from that we've made Double Disco. After a little while, we're like, holy cow, we should have Double Disco. That's Citrus. We have Double Citrus. We release them, once a year. Double Disco we release late fall in like as the intro to winter, right? Yep, that's our intro to winter beer. And then actually we just came out with Silent Luau. So every summer we do a pineapple variant of Silent Disco. And Disco uses some hops you're going to kill. I'm on my computer and I can't look, and I should know. And I won't say the proprietary because I'll tell you every single yeast hop grain is on our website. So if you go to funkbrewing.com, go to the beer section, you can look at the sheet on any beer and see every ingredient that goes into it. So which I think is pretty cool. But it's a pretty tropical, without being cliche, it's got a pretty tropical lineup of hops in general, and then the Disco gives you some dank, like a nice wintry dankness with that too. Hopefully.
So you call this a Southeast PA style double Indian?
Yeah, we were playing around with that on our labels.
That's fine. Do you got one there in front of you?
You know what? I don't have a Double Disco. I did. So that was the only one. That was the one I couldn't match on you.
Well, you got something to drink with you?
Well,
with us?
I do. Oh, I certainly do. I'll show you. It is, and I'm so sorry I couldn't share. Oh man, where am I going here?
Pipe dream.
This got canned at roughly 11 a.m.
Okay,
so that's why I grabbed it. I haven't had it. So it's a double IPA though also. So if you look, it's similar.
So we're gonna.
But I'm in with you guys.
We're gonna go to the Double Disco.
Yep.
Cheers to the Double Disco. So
Cheers,
you got one
guys.
there. Cheers. I do get the dankness out of that.
I like that.
I was going to say we're going to look to you instead of Dave for the IPA description, because that's right up your alley, Vic.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's definitely dank enough for me without like too much flavor. Right. I like beer to be beer. I'm not into the big flavors, but yeah, I really like it. It's good.
Sweet.
Dave? Yeah, it's not too bad. I am, and I'm going to qualify that so that you don't shoot eye darts at me. I am not a huge IPA fan, and I will drink an IPA every once in a while if it's good. Now I like this. This isn't bad. This is pretty good.
If he finishes the glass, you dig.
Oh, I'm going to finish it. I had a couple that I didn't particularly finish. I took one sip and I said, okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah, but you tried it. That's all that matters. You tried
I
it.
tell you what, I do get that citrus, and it's really prominent. The dankness is there. It's very drinkable. This is a crushable beer, but unlike you drinking 60-minute Dogfish, I don't think you want to be drinking 6 of these.
No way. Those are not an 8%er.
And then I did see on the bottom of it, won't you take me to Funky Town?
Funky Town, I like that.
Do you do a lot of play on the words? I mean, I didn't notice that before.
Yeah. I would say yes. Sometimes it's overboard. Sometimes it's the perfect amount. The whole 9. It's nice.
People like that.
Well, what I'm going to have to...
Okay, Lon, I'm sorry. I
No.
didn't mean to walk on you. Did you go ahead? You say what you were going to say.
I said if we wouldn't get copyrighted flagged, I'd throw Funky Town in the background on us.
Yeah, they'd be all over us. I mean, But I was just going to say, this be a good time for me to ask about your tap handles. They're interesting, and I just thought maybe you can enlighten me on the tap handles. I thought that was kind of cool.
Sure. Well, we have a couple different versions. So two of them are disco. We call them Hopman.
Yeah, I figured that with disco. The one I saw, it was
Yep. And we have one that's still on brand funk and bright colors and cool, but is more traditional shaped. But mostly because we could never get us and our wholesale partners could never get the tap handles back. We'd find them on eBay for like $150.
We do have the sales reps kind of go on like missions, and they'll come up with just boxes and boxes, of tap markers, because it is a problem. And as you know, the expense of such a thing, on both of our ends, we need them back, definitely. But they are cute. I mean, the guy I think the one has like an afro.
Yeah.
There's one with like a disco ball.
Yeah.
And so some things I can see people wanting to keep just because.
That was the one I saw.
Is it?
Yeah. So he's like doing a disco move with the big hair, standing on a disco ball. It's pretty awesome. They are very pricey. You're right.
Yeah.
But they're super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't go look in my garage.
Oh.
I have it hid behind the kegerator.
Nice.
No, that's actually very good. And you said this is a winter release, so this is kind of an older one that you were a little worried about when I said I picked it up. That tastes fine to me.
Awesome. So I'll tell you what. I just didn't know. I don't know where anyone stands on their beers, right? So some people take certain things very seriously. Some don't care. Some the whole 9. And what I'd like to share. And first off, like I said before, like everybody's mouth is their own. So whatever you like, that's cool, right? But I'll share that. So our brewer Scott, who's amazing, for the fresh part, he is our beer, especially a double IPA. He calls it ripe. And he said adult, like they're good. And maybe like this, the one I have that was canned a few hours ago has got just a touch of the hop burn, right? Because it was, that beer's been through a lot. It's been through a lot today, right?
Yeah.
But in a few days, like a day or so in the fridge, that's gone, right? And then a few days a little better. But for Scott, he says 3 weeks out and longer is when it gets ripe. And that's when it's its best.
Okay.
And so it really hits its sweet pot a couple months in. So 2, 3, 4 months in is where he says it's actually like conditioned. And you know what? That's pretty common with like a wine, right? Once you bottle it, it's got to go months and the whole 9. So I think he's right. And I think it's pretty cool that that's how those operate.
And some people hold on to beers and like age them on purpose.
Like we do.
I mean,
Right
I know it's some of the darker beers. Yes.
Right
but,
here.
Oh yeah.
But even something like that, I wouldn't be afraid to do it myself.
I have like a 6-year bottle of beer, a 6-year-old bottle.
See,
of
I wouldn't
beer.
have the patience for all that either.
You got to hide it.
Nothing's getting old in my house. No.
I remember when we did record with Jarrett from Collusion, I brought a couple of his bottles, his special releases down that I've had for about 12 months. He said, dude, they don't age well. Oh shit, I guess I better drink them.
Yeah, you got to be careful on what you age.
Yeah.
So a little bit about your background. We touched on how you guys started funk. You got an interesting story you said about your person and what's going on with you. So is this something you want to tell us about? I mean, a rugby coach, do you actually play rugby too, or are you just coaching it?
So all of that. So all of my stories will kind of intertwine. Well, except rugby coach, maybe a little bit, but yeah. So I coach high school rugby in Elizabethtown, which is awesome, and I love doing that. All my kids play sports, so we're a big sports family in the whole nine. My oldest daughter plays rugby. She won't let me coach the girls team, so I coach the boys high school team. But yeah, I did. I played rugby up until I was 44 years old, and I stopped because not quite 2 years ago, I was supposed to go to a rugby match, but instead I switched to go to a beer event, and where I went the day before, I went camping, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I ended up breaking my neck, and I was paralyzed from the neck down instantly. And so I had surgery on it. I'd never had a surgery before, so I had a surgery on it. I got 16 screws in my neck, and hey, I can move now. So it's not great. And when I walk, I don't quite walk well enough that I look like I'm drunk. That was always my concern. I was like, people are going to think I'm hammered all the time. And my wife's like, you don't look good. You don't walk well enough. You look like you're just drunk. But I can walk, and that's an amazing feat nonetheless. So yeah, it turns out I had 2 bad discs in my neck and a ton of torn ligaments, probably from playing rugby. And actually, I don't want to blame it on rugby. I was pretty hard on my body. I power lifted. I played football in the 90s. So I imagine that's probably the worst of it. 90s. I feel like 90s football, there was no rules. Hit somebody with your head as hard as you can, right?
You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the truth is that a lot of folks aren't. Very, very few. Like a couple % of folks are lucky enough to be able to get out of the wheelchair. So I realize how blessed and lucky I am, and I think it's exactly that. So
somebody's watching everybody.
Yeah, you almost sound like the Ryan Shazier story.
Yeah.
Good question. That wasn't a question. Good put together. And I listened to his book. Someone played that book while I was in the hospital. It was super inspiring. I think that helped me work harder to try to get through this. There's a million reasons I had to work that I couldn't just be stuck. But Ryan Shazier helped with that. He actually did a story. He has a foundation. He did a story on me on the Ryan Shazier site.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
That is cool. But hey, I'm going to drink to your health and that you're up and out, man. So this is actually my beers that we brewed. It's a Scottish Wee Heavy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to drink that. I'm going to drink yours.
Yeah, she didn't like it the last time she was here. She Diego.
I appreciated it, but I didn't. It's not my bag.
We do a little dabbling here too. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. Wee Heavy, they're hard to find. Nice make.
Actually, this one was brewed with Sign of the Horse. So we contracted too.
Nice.
They were in studio one day and they wanted to brew something and they liked what I had, but we went with a Wee Heavy, my Wee Heavy recipe, and we brewed that with them. So it turned out really good. We actually released it the day we met Vicky.
Oh yeah, at the Winterfest. At Winterfest. Yeah, you missed a fun event. Your girls did it, but they had a great time. It was an awesome event. Yeah.
So you played rugby, you're coaching rugby, you played football. What the hell haven't you done?
Yeah.
That's quite the story. I think it's awesome. I mean, as far as your brew capacity, what is your tap system? I mean, what's your capacity? Because you are distributing through brewery products, correct?
Yes,
we are. Yep.
So
we're all through Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you must have you got to keep up with the production. So you must have a fairly big system to keep up with that, or your brewer's constantly brewing day in, day out.
Yeah, a bit of both. So we have a 15 barrel system. But almost all of our tanks are 30 barrels. So he double batches up everything.
Wow.
And we have a bunch of tanks in there. And then we contract brew. So we work with Susquehanna Brewing, and they're awesome. I'll give them kudos. So we've got long histories of goods and bads of contracting and wildness and definitely lessons. But we found a really good partner with those guys. They're awesome. And we do a few things with them. And especially we have our Shandy series. And we have a Shandy sampler pack coming out for the first time. So we're really excited for that. It should be out in about 2 weeks, hopefully in time for Memorial Day. But they can pasteurize. So up there, by them being able to pasteurize that beer, one, it lasts, it's bulletproof, but also it's shelf stable. So that now it's not going to explode on any shelves. So I'm not talking poorly about, stuff happens, right? I get it. And some stuff you have to keep cold, but for this, by being able to pasteurize, it makes it so you can just stick it right on the shelf.
You guys got shit going on. I'm telling you. I'm glad we got you on here. Thanks, Vicky.
You're welcome.
This is awesome. So you got 2 locations. Which one is your main location?
Good question. So we've got a lot going on at Funk. So here's what I'll unpack for you. So the main location is Emmaus, right? So that's where we all started on 19th South 6th Street in Emmaus. And Emmaus is on the west end of Allentown. So it's really close to Dorney Park. We just made the beer for the brand new Dorney Park roller coaster, by the way. I realize that's not Central PA, but if you're in Dorney, I can tell you about that too. It's called the Iron Menace, and it's super cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so and the Slatington location is very new, as well as there's a newer location in Allentown going in on Hamilton Boulevard. As a matter of fact, this Saturday. Well, I don't know when people are going to hear this, so
it's going to be late July, but yeah, that's fine.
Oh, that's right. So 15. 17, 18. So May 18th. So by the time you hear this, that'll be open on Hamilton Boulevard. It's going to be a really cool spot. But so the reason that all of this went down is, and you didn't ask me this question, but I'll unpack for you if the timing's right. Yeah.
You got it, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
Got to take a swig of beer for that. I'll do that.
I do. Yeah. We all should, right?
Yeah.
So
you got to keep wetting your whistle.
Yeah. So we've faced at Funk Brewing, and in the last 10 years, we've faced a lot of challenges. Some challenges that everybody has, right? Like COVID is real. The beer market is insane, for whether it's because it's crowded or whether it's because of teas or whether it's because of, like, you name it, right? So that's had an impact, and it's hurting a lot of breweries. For us, we've had some other things that stunk. We had a pretty bad experience with contract brewing that was very expensive. Lesson to learn, not with Susquehanna. And then, a myriad of other things. And then, of course, getting paralyzed and literally not being able to do anything for a few months. So all that to say, it didn't help. And we were struggling quite a bit. So when the COVID DEIDL loans came due, we were like, oh, all right, we need some help. And I didn't want to go by the wayside. Like, there's some breweries that have just closed, some have consolidated, the whole nine. And for me, most important was, one, this brand has to live, whether I'm part of it or not. And I am. And by the way, the end of the story is a good one, by the way, or else I guess I wouldn't be on here. But this brand has to survive because it's good and people love it. And then there was a tap room in Elizabethtown where I live. And I was like, this restaurant has to survive because it's really important in this community. And I'm not originally from Elizabethtown, but I've lived here for a while and I love it. So I was like, these two things are like, that's my main focus. So whatever happens to me, like, that's got to go down. So I knew I had a friend that had a venture capital firm with near me in Ephrata. And turns out he had somebody, part of his team were in Allentown, and they were like, get out, Funk Brewing. So long story short, I sold the brand Funk Brewing to them. The company didn't have value, right? Because it had quite a bit of debt. So I sold the brand to those guys. And then the creditors got the money from that. So I got to help a little bit, I suppose. But all that to say, here we are. I work for that. So they're called Illumination Brewing. And they operate the Funk brand. I work for them, which is awesome. And we can do, and like I said, we have a Shandy sampler pack coming out. We couldn't have done that. We didn't have the money or the funds to be able to do things like that. So I'm so excited. Citrus IPA, our flagship's going to be in a 12-ounce 12-pack. Our team just ran a canning line on our own canner. We had a mobile canner that came in. They were amazing, really expensive, right? So
who was it?
It's Ironheart.
Ironheart. Okay.
We've been trying to hook up with them for a while.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm happy to share. Awesome company, awesome folks. And when I say expensive, they're not doing anything wrong. It's just anytime, right? Yeah. Right. If you can mow your grass, like it's a lot more expensive to pay someone to mow your grass than to just mow your grass, right? So
yeah.
That's all. So yeah. So anyway, so that was that scoop, and then the real quick for the happy ending in Elizabethtown. So there was a distillery in the back, Pine Creek Spirits, and Pine Creek Spirits was able to take over that whole building and operate restaurant and the whole nine, and feature all of the Funk beer that everybody's used to. So if you're in, I know you guys are not that far away. So if you're in Elizabethtown, check out Pine Creek Spirits. They're all awesome. There's awesome kind of liquors and whatnot. Great food. And like I said, featuring all the delicious funk beers, et cetera. So
I actually Googled funk and that popped up. Somehow they merged together and I was confused. I'm like, maybe I typed something wrong.
I was going to ask, but you just answered it.
But now it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, now it's the link thing and I had no idea.
Well, kudos to you, Norm.
Yeah,
you're doing everything you can to make the brand survive. And it's like any entrepreneur. You don't want to see your baby die.
Yeah.
I have my own business as well, automotive repair. So in about 10 years, I'm looking to get out. But my job as a business owner is to make it sustainable and profitable for the next person. You just accomplished that. So kudos.
Well, I wish it would have been a better story on the path there. But thank you very much because I wanted this brand to exist for people, right? And I know that sounds lame, but
that's all that matters.
Yeah,
your path went forward, so that's half the battle.
My hat's off to you for playing rugby.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. I've watched a few games, and man, you just say that had to hurt.
Well, you know what? I've been waiting. So there was a couple guys I wanted to play with I played over 35 rugby for a little while, and I was waiting to be over. I'm 45 now, and I was waiting to be over 45 so I could play with a couple of my friends again, and play in a little bit older, age appropriate. When I'm 43, playing in the over 35s, it's not exactly age appropriate. I was waiting for that, and here I can't. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. I was kind of in the same deal whenever. I finally, I used to be in judo a lot, and I just, I just got to the point where I said, I don't think I can take this anymore. when you're approaching 50, and so they have exactly what you're talking about. They have an age appropriate, master's division, and you can get into that. But some of those guys are kind of interesting too. They're very tough, so to speak. And so I didn't last that long in that one either.
Mr. Miyagi tough. Always look high.
Yes.
Always look high.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. If you're doing whether it's judo or rugby, any sport like that, if you go, hey, I'm over it, right? And that's what I learned in the over 35s or 35 or 45. Hey, if somebody's still doing judo at over 45, they're not just like some slob. They're the most in shape, badass over 45-year-old guy trying to flip you on your back, right?
Yes, so. Exactly.
Well, I tell you what, we got another beer here, and this is one you had mentioned. This is local. Now, it came across on the email as local.
Yep.
So I was looking for local 99, but I didn't find local 99.
I think that was I saw that too, and I thought it was just a mistype.
So
we're taking the dash out of this label, so it's going to be local. The local was killing it. Maybe you guys can shed some light on it, but I don't want to hold you up. You can taste it.
I migrated towards it because I want low carb and low calorie, even though I don't give that up in beer at all. But if I can find one that I like, I actually bought this for my house. So
I'll be honest. I don't even know what a fucking calorie or carb is. I just, if I see it, I eat it or drink it.
Well, we put these on. We put the facts on this can actually for that reason.
I love that. That is
ultimately
awesome.
So our brew, and I don't want to hold you up if you want to taste it. And I've got one as well, but so we wanted IPA, right? So there's a lot of good session. I hate the term session for whatever reason, but there's a lot of those, right? So if you talk about a slightly mighty or an all day IPA, and there's some really good ones. And our intent wasn't exactly that, but it was just, hey, Scott. He's our brewer, Scott, so I'll call him Scott. Hey, Scott, can we, what's something I can tailgate a football game with, right? I want to have a bunch, but I want something, but not, And so he was like, hey, I'm trying to make a hazy IPA that's lower ABV, not necessarily a sesh, but you still get that flavor out of, right? And as he was doing it, he was like, I wonder what the calories are on this. And so he kept tweaking it. He's like, I can get it to 99 calories. And we're like, we have to do that then. So that was it. So it's just a hazy IPA meant to drink daytime, right? And all dayish. And it just happened to be 99 calories. The low cal part has been hurting in the branding for some reason. So we're switching to local, but But yeah, have at it. So it should be just a lighter taste than Hazy IPA.
Cheers to the local 99. I could see drinking a ton of that.
That's light.
Mhm.
That's light. That's a light.
That
beer.
is light.
But
Yeah.
it's still hazy. Do you still taste now? And you just had a double IPA. So
It's got a little clearness, but there is a haze to it. But
Right.
this
more haze flavor, I guess, than the actual color.
Yeah.
Right?
this is a super crushable beer. This is your tailgate beer at the rugby game.
Yes.
I'm telling you what, that's fucking good.
Yeah. It's just the
There
beer.
you go. And
for
look,
the-
you might lose some, like, not lose weight, but you
Yeah.
know, I mean,
This
that could
is
be
the
your extra,
tailgate
that
beer
could be
at
like
your
your
high school
exercise.
rugby games.
Yeah.
I might go from the 2 barrel to a 1 barrel.
There you go.
Nice.
Without even trying it.
You missed what I said.
I
This
did. I'm
is
sorry.
The tailgate beer for their high school rugby
Yeah.
rugby game.
Oh, I still think that wouldn't be acceptable. No.
I don't think that would work.
No.
They don't do that at the high school games, right? Win or
But you
lose,
know what?
win.
Back in the 90s, were you even playing Little League if your coach wasn't drinking it? Right? It's fun. Everything's different now. I don't want to sound like the old curmudgeon, but everything's
day,
different.
Woman smoking in her doctor's office as she's pregnant,
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about
Yeah,
how
right?
it's evolved a long way.
And
since
the
then.
doctor examining her is
Yeah.
smoking too.
Absolutely. Hell, let me put my cigarette down.
with the ash hanging off, like
Yeah.
you're afraid it's going to drip off. No,
Nice.
this is really good.
Well, I'm glad you guys like it. It just so happened to end up 99 calories. I mean, we got close and then made it 99. So it's 99 calories. To Vicky's point, it's right on the label. 3.4 carbs. There's 1 gram of protein, and I would like to add. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, by the way, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's pretty
Arnold.
fantastic.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
He says, and his popular theory that if you're trying to lose, whether you're trying to bulk up or lose weight, they say you should take in 1 gram of protein for every kilogram you want to weigh. So this has 1 gram of, right?
So that's you're almost there.
Huh.
You're getting there.
So if you wanted to weigh 160 pounds, that's about 80 kilograms. And so you need to drink 80 of these every day and you're all set.
Yeah.
You'll be picking my
And there's
ass off
24
the-
to a case.
you'll
So
be picking
80.
my ass off the floor.
Uh,
Yeah, won't you be my neighbor?
Yes.
That's a good commercial.
I love
That
that,
is a good commercial.
I love that commercial.
Yep.
Yeah.
Neighbor. It's neighbor. I am. That's why I said neighbor.
You know, it's funny. You see him on the commercial, and it was just I had ran across the first Terminator,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I was just for laughs. I turned it on just to watch a little bit of it, and wow, he was really young. At
yeah. He's
So-
still going strong though.
oh yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Even after his political career,
Yeah.
his he was governor of California, was it?
Governor.
Maybe.
yeah, the
Governator.
Yeah.
Governor.
Governator.
I kudos to this. Is this something new, or is this something you've have been doing and just so happened you dialed it in to where you wanted it? Is this like the new product that you guys are going to be featuring? This is going to be a new flagship?
Yeah. So the intent is for this to be a flat, like, unless so, never say never and never say forever, right? But the intent is this to be a flagship. If for some reason no one loves it, then yeah, we won't keep making it. But so far it's been great. And it is new. It's relatively new. Our brewer Scott's been playing around with this technique for a while. And but yeah, so this is new for us and we're fans. It's exactly what, like, where we are. Like, so I said, me and Scott and a lot of our folks are just, this is where we are in our, I don't know, beer season, if you will. It's summertime, and I want good flavor, but I don't want to get I want to have a couple. I want to drink for a few hours, and I don't want to get hammered necessarily.
So you are changing it to local as opposed to low-cal.
Yep, especially on draft boards, it just like that when it's low-cal on a chalkboard, it just like that was just killing it. And we found like one of our guys went and on a chalkboard at a bar went and and erased the dash. And like 2 days later, they're like, "Yo, that keg kicked that no one was buying." So
Well,
I'm
you
like,
could
all
do-
right.
I mean, a local series. I mean, you could do a whole local series.
Yeah.
You know,
I could see you doing a different, like keeping the same base on it, and maybe okay, hey, next year
You could add flavors
little
or
flavor to it.
yeah.
Oh, just make it make the number of calories. We'll do a milkshake IPA and make it local 374. We're like, this only has 374 calories.
No.
Hey, 99 cans of beer on the wall.
Nice. I like that.
Take one down, I pour it around.
No, I'm not getting into this. No.
Number 4, I hit the floor.
Yeah. I don't remember the words of that anyway. So.
I don't either.
Yeah.
That was, and if you are just the word IPA, or if you don't even use the word IPA in that, you give somebody that's not a craft beer person something like that to drink.
It's just a flavorful light beer at that point. Yeah.
I'd drink that over a fucking Budweiser right now. That's really good. So kudos.
Cool. Thanks. Well, I didn't do anything. I'll share.
I was kind of like, okay, I'm not much for light calorie or these low carb beers and stuff. Like I said, I don't even know what a calorie or carb is. I never pay attention. I probably would never buy it. But now that I've tried it and we're talking to you about it, I would buy that 6-pack and I would drink it. You know, I come home if I'm mowing my grass.
You don't want it to say that it's a light beer. So if my husband sees something that says it's light, he immediately doesn't want to have it.
Yeah.
But if I take it out of that package and put it in a nondescript package or in another one, he thinks it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's that perception people
get.
It
absolutely is. Yeah.
So as far as your beers, do you guys do a variety, or is there a certain style that you guys are really geared and really geared up for, or do you cover the palate? You know, like the whole palate.
We try to. We've become known for IPAs I guess everybody, right? And that's the most popular style, right? Yeah. It's the beer that moves through it the most, right? So we make IPAs, double IPAs. We've, and in the double IPA craze, we'll call it 5 years ago, we were in that world of, the big lines to get the double IPA, and that's awesome. So we've been known for those, and our brewer Scott does a really good job. You saw that in the double disco. You're going to see it again in the double citrus. So he does them really well. His passion, if money didn't matter and it was just make whatever you want, he would make traditional German style beers, and that's it, including Rauch beers, which he's done a couple of, or so like a smoked lager, which some people are super into. I'm not. I can drink one, which is fine, but it's hard to sell ones that people are like, oh, I just want one and whatever. But that's what he would prefer to make. But he's really he's always learning, right? So the techniques that he used to get there with 99, I think is really cool. So I wouldn't want to ever paint us or him into a corner. And the Cookie Monster, which you'll see next, I think that's just it's going to show off how Scott's able to learn things and do really cool stuff in beers, so that we'll never be. And I don't mean pigeonhole in a bad way. Like there's some breweries that are like, hey, they're known for their banging lagers, and that's awesome. But I don't know that we're going to end up there just because of Scott's thirst to keep learning new stuff. He hates doing sours, but he does a really good sour. So our sours are not, they're not the crazy sours, right? So like traditional sours can be really sour. So sour heads, if you will, don't love our sours. And they're not milkshake sours, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those. I'm just saying that's not what we do. Ours is in the middle. It's clear and it's tart. It's probably more tart than it is sour. And it's season appropriate flavors, right? So we do blueberry and watermelon and they're just a good amount of sour. By the way, so anyway, he nails it, but he hates making them because he's like, I like to make traditional style beers.
Yeah, it's not the first brewer we heard it. Yeah.
I mean, he could do those German things as like a one-off.
Oh, and he certainly does, because that's the other piece to it, right? So the answer is, so we do wholesale. We have a bunch of great wholesale partners. Well, maybe not a bunch, but we have wholesale partners like Brewery Products that are awesome, and we need to do what people want to buy out there. Right. But we also have tap rooms, so we need to fill those taps with beers. So we make a really great American lager. We make one in-house for our tap. Also, that's what that Iron Menace, the Dorney Park roller coaster beer is an American lager. But in the wholesale, which we have on tap and it's awesome, but in the world of wholesale, it costs us per se.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, when you guys are not selling Budweiser and Natty Light and all also sell this craft lager. And furthermore, for the consumer, it costs us so much more to make that lager that the cost
But you
of
need
it
it in-house.
sell.
But you need it
Yeah, but we
in-house.
have so all that to say, we have a lot of cool beers we make. We have a cool Pilsner we make in-house all the time. There's a bunch of cool beers we make in-house.
Yeah. That's when you have to do the
Yeah.
visiting
So
the
that-
brew.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So what you're doing with Vicky and Brewery Products gives people a taste of what funk brewing can be.
Yep.
Mhm.
And in hopes they will come to, how do you say it? I called it Emos, but
Oh, Emmaus.
Emmaus
Yep.
in Slatington, and
Yeah.
now Elizabethtown, and visit the tap rooms
Yep. Well,
So-
Elizabethtown is Pine Creek Spirits.
Okay.
to get
Yeah.
more of what funk
Was
brewing
Elizabeth, yeah.
can do. So
Okay.
Yep.
I think what you guys are doing is great, and that's why I asked that, because what I've always seen of funk, like at Westgate, where DJs at Westgate, where I get my stuff, was a lot of these IPAs, and I think when I messaged you, I picked up the State IPA for, like, was that made for Penn State? Is that what that one was for?
It is. It was actually for the State of State podcast, which
Okay.
is Matt McGloin, or I'm sorry, Tom Hannafin, who's an announcer for Impact Wrestling, and Justin King, Penn State, former Penn
Okay.
State football player. They do a podcast and asked if we would do a beer for their show. So on there's a QR code. You can listen to their show. It was originally with a friend of mine, Matt McGloin. If you're a Penn State guy.
Oh, Matt McGloin.
Yes.
Oh, Matt McGloin.
Yes. So NFL playoff winning quarterback Matt McGloin for the
Yeah.
Raiders. I guess they were not Las Vegas then, but anyway, it was originally with Tom and Matt, and I had known Matt through a mutual friend for a while, so it just kind of worked out, and it was a cool thing. We make it, in a nondescript way. We make it for Penn State because we make it for the State of State, a Penn State football podcast.
There we go.
Maybe
think
somebody will make a beer for you.
Yeah,
They just did. It's a wee heavy.
Yeah, it's a wee
Yeah.
heavy. I may have two more in the back. Stitch Creek and Gift Horse.
Gift horse.
So
Mhm.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We're getting popular. Not. I think I've had the State IPA before, so
Sweet.
but if this will get, we're going to promote the shit out of that local 99.
Please. Yeah.
Rename it now. Yeah, you can just rename it now.
Local, what
Yeah,
is it called?
local.
Well, you know what? In like amongst ourselves, we just call it 99.
Yeah, 99. Just 99.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And
Agent 99.
That's going to get. That's
Oh,
gonna
that's
get
going
you,
back a ways, but I remember that.
You remember
Get
Agent
Smart.
99?
Get
Yes,
Smart.
that's Get
Yes.
Smart.
Get
Yes.
Smart.
Yep.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that was a good show.
That was
It
a good
was.
show.
Yeah, it just gets people to your tap room, and then you can really feature what you guys are all about, like the different styles. If he wants to do a German one-off and just stick it in the tap room, that's awesome.
Yep.
Dave and I and Kevin, who is normally in Vicky's spot, we're typical. Give us the darker stouts, the barrel age beers like that, but our palates are completely open. And we talked. You had mentioned this very early on in this recording, is everybody's palate's different. We're going to get different flavors out of the same beer. That we could taste the same beer, but we're all going to have a different palate and different flavor profile out of that beer.
Yeah.
And we've learned about the craft industry to a non-craft person that drinks nothing but Coors Light, Miller Lite, or Corona or something like that. Oh, I don't like all that hoppy shit. Bud, there's hops in every beer. Sorry. It's part of the the way you make it. There's hops in it. Just depends on what you want. So that was a good job. I mean, what else do you do on the side besides what you've already described? I mean, it sounds like you keep yourself busy. You got yourself back to health that you can walk and get out of the chair. So that is a commendable accomplishment. You were like, this isn't killing me. This isn't going to keep me going. I see the path forward. What else do you do?
What else do I do? Holy cow. Well, no, you know what? That's actually a good bit of it is I do a lot of, whether you call it, so I used to lift weights before I got hurt. So being able to do, it's totally different now, but that rehabbing, it makes my life feel more normal, right? By being able to do that. So that's a lot of it. And like I said, coaching it, and I'm a dad of 3. So I have 3 awesome kids. I make it sound like I'm an only dad. No, I'm an awesome wife, but I have a 18-year-old daughter who is graduating from high school in like 2 weeks, and I'm freaking out. Wow. Yeah. I have a 15-year-old daughter and I have a 9-year-old boy, and they all play sports. So my oldest daughter plays rugby in the spring. My 15-year-old daughter plays, she's pretty great, and potentially in college too. We'll see. She's cheerleader, so there's potential she'll be cheerleader. They go very perfect, like pretty standard. Cheerleader in the fall, rugby player in the spring and college.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
So my 15-year-old daughter is a softball player. So we're going to go to those. My 9-year-old boy is a baseball player. He plays rookie rugby in the summer, which is flag rugby. So I think, like, what else do? I drive kids around.
Yeah, you don't.
And I plan it out with my wife where to go.
The dad band, I think, is the dad band or the mom band rather. But you have to take kids to all their sports events.
I tell you, it doesn't sound like you got a lot of free time for yourself and your wife, but I can tell just by talking to you that you are extremely satisfied and outgoing about everything you've done. I'm kind of getting lost for words, and that's Ask Dave. That's kind of hard for me to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I appreciate that. As I said before, I'm a showman. I like to talk, and I like to talk about things that I'm passionate about, and right, even though it's not mine per se anymore, I love this brand, and if you can't tell,
well, you're like
I started the
PR, though. Yeah, you're PR for the brand, so yeah absolutely.
Well, I mean, if you listen to the beginning of this podcast, you think that I was doing commercials for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. When there's something that I love and I'm passionate about, it's easy, right? I love this brand. I love the opportunity. I love rugby. I love my kids. I love Enterprise. It's easy.
You can incorporate both. You know that. You can incorporate the brewery and Enterprise because we'll pick you up.
Oh, yes. Typically that's frowned upon. So. But I am, you know what? But since you asked, I am. Here's one thing, and I haven't figured out what is, but I want. So, like I said, there's a very small percent of folks that can get out of the wheelchair and do something, and I'm not saying anybody can if they want to or they work hard. It's just there's other things. There's some faith, and not pushing that on anyone else, but it mattered for me. Right. And I had really good surgeon. And as a matter of fact, one of the surgeons was Shazier. I got it done at UPMC in Williamsport. One surgeon that worked on Shazier was the guy that did my front scar. So I've got a pretty long one in the back and a little one here. And the guy that did that also worked on Shazier, so we're, kind of brothers that way, I guess. But anyway, but I've had this call because I like to talk, and because I can get out of the chair. Is my trying to find my purpose. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, when you said, hey, somebody's watching over you. Well, not for nothing, right? So they're watching over me for some reason. There's something I got to do. And sometimes I struggle telling my story, not because I'm nervous about it or I don't want to share. I don't want pity. You know what I mean? If I'm telling you my story, I'm telling you because it's a cool story. I'm telling you because this is why I'm walking like an asshole. Right. I'm telling you, right. So I'm trying to find that purpose. And so I kind of got to a purpose without pity. I just haven't figured out the purpose yet, but I'm wanting it.
You'll figure it out. I was at a training event for my industry in North Carolina, and the one dinner we had brought a double amputee veteran in as the keynote. I'm a veteran myself. I had to get up and leave. No matter what happened to him, he had the same attitude you got. I'm here for a purpose and I'm going to make it work. I fucking cried. I had to leave, and every eye in that room was crying because his story was so. You think you have it bad till you hear somebody's story like that, or even yours. But there's a purpose, and I think you're going to find your purpose. You're going to be able to get in front of those people and give others purpose to get where you're at. That's where your purpose is at. It's just everybody has a purpose. I
appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. First off, thank you very much for your service. My dad is a Marine. My dad's a retired 21-year Marine. And I want to quick share. This is not a pat on our back, but I want to share because I think it matters to us. And we haven't done it in a while, but a really good friend of mine has a brewery in Virginia called One Family. And we did a collab with them. We did 5 runs and it was called The Fallen. and every label had the name of 50 fallen service members, and it was and because it's super important, it was killed in action and PTSD suicide, because that's a real thing too. And and we did those, and we helped, and the proceeds of those we helped to put a Gold Star memorial. If you don't know what that is, so those are families that lost someone, right? So we helped to get a Gold Star memorial in Northern Virginia, in Connecticut, and one in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where my family's from. So my dad was a big part of that, and a really good team up there. So
awesome. Speaking of collabs, do you do any locally with anybody else, or have you done anything local with anybody in PA as far as a collab and stuff like that?
There's one out right now, and we've got a follow-up come. We're going to do a follow-up right away. We're going to probably do it a little bit later, maybe even in the next year, but we do with Rusty Rail. So as I just mentioned, I'm from the Williamsport area. I'm actually from Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. And yes, that's a real place. And it's almost the geographic center. There's two red lights and a blinking red light, and an army.
Brewing.
And Bald Birds. Well, actually, yeah. And Joe from Bald Bird. If you need to get him on, let me know. So Joe,
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Done. So Joe and I went to high school together. He's 2 years behind me. He played. He was a sophomore quarterback behind the senior when I was a senior and our senior quarterback. And Joe and I. In fact, Joe from Bald Birds. His dad builds houses. He built my family's house. My dad retired from the Marine Corps. We moved home. So me and Joe are super tight. But Bald Birds Brewing, and that to say, so I have family in Mifflinburg. And when I played high school in football, when I played football in high school, the only team we could ever beat was Mifflinburg. So I figured we ought to do a collab with Rusty Rail. And we did. And oh my gosh.
Isn't it East-West?
Yeah, it's East versus West. Because now I know it's funny that Rusty Rail is almost in the center of PA. But ours was to get a little more, like, to get people to know our name out west. So out here and even further west towards Pittsburgh. And for them in the Allentown, Philly area, Mifflinburg is Western PA. Like, that might as well be in Erie if you're in Allentown, right? So it's a way for us to get that East-West kind of jam. And it's a hazy IPA, a lemon variant hazy IPA, but amazing time. Rusty Rail's an awesome brewer. They make great beers. They couldn't have been nicer to us. Like, their facility's awesome. I can't say enough good stuff about Rusty Rail. So,
actually, I think our riding club plans a ride up there again this year. It'd be the third time we've been up there, and I'll be damned, I'm going this time because the last 2 times I didn't make it up. We even talked about going up there and spending the night in the hotel.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, dude, they put us up there. Beautiful rooms.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were thinking about going up and just doing a visit to check it out and to drink their beer.
Especially after Vicky kind of like told us you need to get up to fucking Rusty Rail.
Yeah. You can make a weekend of it.
Yeah.
Did she put it that way? Huh? But yeah, that's a beautiful place up there, and we do a lot of that. We do a lot of saying, hey, you know what, we need to make a road trip here and a road trip there, and then all of a sudden we find out that the schedule doesn't permit it.
Well, you're retired and you're too damn busy.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Speaking of beer, you mentioned this one as we came back in here, the Cookie Monster. Now, you don't see a lot of Golden Stouts. I was just, when we were pouring it out here, I told Davis, this is the one kit beer that I tried to brew because you don't see Golden Stouts a lot. And I had a lot of bottle bombs. So something failed in the kit brew, but we don't kit brew anymore. But so tell us a little bit about the Cookie Monster.
Yeah. So this originally was a collab. It was not intended to be made year round, which we do it as a flagship. We make it year round because people love it, as they should. But we made it with a micro creamery in Bethlehem. Micro creamery is a very fancy word, which I had to learn. It means ice cream shop in Bethlehem, called Batch, and they're awesome guys there. And so they invited us to come in. They wanted to do a collab, and it was awful. We had to try all of their ice creams one day, so we really had to work hard. And we just said, "Hey, what's your most popular ice cream?" And they said, well, it's Cookie Monster, and it's chocolate chip ice cream with cookie dough in it. And so we tried it, and they're like, can you make a beer taste like this? And we're like, Scott was, I'll figure it out. And he did. So he used some cocoa nibs, used some vanilla, like some fancy. They helped him source some. So there's some pretty fancy ingredients to get that. I don't know if it's super necessary. It was for their ice cream because it was delicious. But anyway, all that to say, my favorite part. So it's a golden stout. So it still has some roasty stout characteristics, but it's not as dark in color as you can see. It still has a stouty mouth. If you close your eyes, it's got a stout mouthfeel, and it's sweet like ice cream. My favorite part, and you're going to think I'm just trashing lactose, and I'm not. If that's in your beers, cool. But there is, all I'm saying is there is not lactose in there, and Scott's able, and that's the only thing. Everything is on our website except for the method he uses to do that. That's the only one. He's like, that's mine. That's my secret.
That's proprietary.
Yeah, and I'll give him that one. I don't even know how he does it. He's ridiculous.
I'd have to kill you if I tell you.
Yes. So he makes it taste like ice cream. It's got a good sweetness. And it's not heavy, right? And not that we're all calories, but there's not a bunch of sugar in there to make that flavor. Or else, so it's shelf stable, right? It's not sugar doing that. It's just some techniques that he figures out. So I don't know if you guys tasted it yet, but
no, that's what we're getting ready to.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah,
you got one there?
I don't, but I know I've had a lot of Cookie Monsters.
Yeah.
All right.
I have one upstairs, but I'm slow.
Here is to Cookie Monster. I want cookie. Cheers.
Cheers.
I can't wait to hear what Dave says.
Holy shit.
That's rather tasty.
I was waiting for that.
That's rather tasty.
Yeah.
That is really. I do get the roastiness of what a stout's supposed to taste like, but then I get a little bit of that sweet cream in the back end of it, what you were just hitting on.
Yeah, it is kind of like melted ice cream.
It is.
I was just gonna say, it should taste like melty ice cream.
Right.
I'd give you a cookie, but I ate it. I love the little slogans at the bottom of your can art.
Yeah, that's fun.
You have nice.
Did you read the one on 99?
No, I did not. What's it say on?
I'd have to put my glasses.
No, that's what it says. All the funk, none of the junk.
That's it.
Oh, I did see that. Yes, I did see that.
This is really good.
Yeah.
And again, this is a style you do not see a lot of. You don't see golden stouts out there. Not a lot of people are doing. They might do a golden ale or a blonde, but they don't do a golden stout. So
yeah,
good job.
Yeah, thanks. So the idea was that a stout would overpower the flavor. It's a delicate balance there. And played out is not the right word, but like so many times, I think maybe Scott was looking for a challenge. So many times you put those kind of flavors in a stout, and it's easy. So I think he wanted to showcase them a little more.
Yeah, and there's so many vanilla stouts out there already. Well, we did a vanilla bourbon stout.
I'm in. That sounds great.
I'll take the bourbon part.
Yes.
Well, actually, that's the recipe Snitch Creek wants to do. But to showcase something like this, like a melted ice cream, into a golden beer, that's a great job. This is a style I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of.
I've always wanted to almost invent a summer stout. Like, what's a summer? Like, what would that style even be? But like, I would buy a summer stout in the summer.
You could do like some kind of like a cheesecake, almost like strawberry
don't like
cheesecake.
Flavors.
This is different. It's like a dessert thing.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to taste. I'm just saying it's supposed to taste like a dessert.
If you've ever had dessert wines,
yeah,
and there are dessert
right.
wines, and there's the
right.
the ones made with the frozen grapes, very sweet, very tasty. But this would be like a dessert beer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
without all the shame, because it's just beer.
And I agree with I agree with you what you said. If you would do a traditional stout and try and get that flavor profile, other than to highlight the lactose,
I think it's like too roasty.
Yeah, the roastiness
and it'll cut the cookie out of it. This keeps it dessert like.
But to me, there's no season for any beer for me. Every beer is for it. I don't give a shit. I will drink a barrel age in the middle of July and August. Beer's beer. I don't care. Like, I might come home tonight and say, I want a freaking lactose heavy smoothie sour where I got to squeeze the can to pour it. Yeah. And the next night I'm going to come home and grab the 99. Or
Yeah.
You're like that book, A Man for Every Season.
I whatever. I don't fucking read.
Nice. Well, I couldn't be more with you on that because I mean, shoot, especially if you're in a restaurant or a bar, like if it's July, it's air conditioned in there. It's cool. My wife's probably putting something over. I'm drinking stout in there. And furthermore, in the winter, right? So we make an excellent lemon shandy, and so we keep it on our tap rooms year round. And but bars and restaurants don't because it's that's for the summer. I think it got ruined by someone's brand and calling it a summer shandy. But like, hey, it's warm in that restaurant in January. That lemonade shandy tastes delicious with your dinner, regardless of what if it's snowing.
But there are some people that literally go by the seasons on what they want to drink.
do.
They're like,
I agree.
My son-in-law's like that. I'm like if it's a holiday, I'm like, oh, bring me whatever seasonal, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
it's
yes.
Okay, all right.
Well, pumpkin beers come out in July, so is that the appropriate season?
Because if I say, oh, I'm going to bring this, he's like, well, don't you have a whatever he considers a seasonal? And but that's how but that keeps it interesting for him. He always has something different.
Yeah.
And there's a couple traditional, things but that's great because I don't do that. Like I just drink what I want whenever I want.
Exactly. That's me. It's
I don't think I've ever done that. Gone into a restaurant and say, "Bring me whatever seasonal." I mean, I would be afraid of what he would bring me. There'd probably be something that was triple hopped.
Well, that's true for you. Yeah.
Especially if you're with me, it's like he wants that ragweed beer out there, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
The stuff that Vicky would drink.
Yeah, and that is every season.
In a lot of the restaurants you go to, it's a shame that you can't get a lot of craft beer, and you can go and they have the traditional standards.
Yeah,
the standards are.
Yeah.
It's starting to get there, though. It's really starting to get
there.
Yeah.
I went to a restaurant one time and I said, "Do you have any craft beer?" And he said, "Of course we do." And he opened up and it was Yingling, Michelob. I said, "Do you understand what a craft beer is?" I mean, I think he was just trying to make me happy, is what he was doing.
I guess Sam Adams could still be considered a craft beer.
I think it technically is.
Yeah.
Well, therefore, at one point, Yingling, they didn't want to consider Yingling a craft beer.
Yes.
And then I think they won their way back into the craft.
It's a macro.
Well,
brew.
Sam Adams has a brewery one exit down from us on Interstate 78. So they are for sure craft.
Yeah. I tell you what, if somebody comes into your tap room, tell me what they're going to find. Either whatever. Is it the food, beverages, local stories?
Yeah.
I mean,
so in Emmaus is traditional brewery, right? So when you walk into Emmaus, it's brewery, and so we just tried to move it a little while ago. We tried to move it out across the street. The tap room part that didn't super work, so it's back in. But anyway, so you walk in and it's brewery. So you look and you'll see, hey, there's tanks. Like, if you were like, hey, do you brewery tours? I go, sure. Turn around on your stool. There's the brew house. Here's it, right? So you sit in it, in a bar. So that's what you'll find there. And it's a brewery, so there's food truck. So we have a food truck there. And then in Slatington is in a farmer's market. But when I say farmer's market, it's new. It feels like a mall almost. And then there's antiques in the back, but it's really cool. Slatington's like the opening to Jim Thorpe. So I'm sure you may have not, most people haven't heard of Slatington, but right at the mouth of Jim Thorpe, which is the tourist destination.
Yeah.
That's where Slatington is, doing that farmer's market. And then as far as food is, you name it, a bunch of cool places around you can walk and check out and do. And then a cool bar with a beautiful outside area. And there's, since it's that kind of tourist area, there's a bike trail, like a pretty famous bike trail that comes up from Jim Thorpe and go through there. So the outside area is fantastic. Just new. So when you're listening to this, it will have just opened, but on Hamilton Boulevard, Funk Brewing in there. They call it the Greenhouse because it was originally a greenhouse, and then it was a little wine bar for a little bit, and now it is the West End tap room for Funk. And there you'll have some wood-fired pizzas, and great stuff, and all the cool beers in with an inside out space on the side. So when it's cold out, you can still feel outside.
So we got your tap rooms going on, and you got the one in Elizabethtown. What else do you keep the same beers at all three tap rooms, or is there like this tap room's going to have this selection, and then you might have a different rotational series over at this tap house?
Not on purpose. Yeah. So there might be, hey, if you race back and forth, there might be a little bit different of a lineup, but there's not a, hey, you have to go to this one to find this beer kind of thing.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So you had mentioned you'd sold out to keep the brand alive.
We make it sound way sexier than it really is, but yeah.
You are still involved. Is your brother-in-law still involved?
He is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he had gotten out a little earlier, and it was just the best move, right? And so sorry to be vague on it, but it was a good move for everybody.
That's fine.
And it worked out. And you know what? And yeah, long story is it worked out great as well. So
but the legacy's still living on because it's his name.
Yeah,
absolutely. Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So what's next for Norm with Funk Brewing?
Whew. Hopefully this 99 takes off, and that's the jam, right? And we sell it all around the country because it's everybody's new favorite beer.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
That is awesome. That's an awesome goal. And that's all they are. They're goals. We put a goal out there and let's achieve the goal, correct? That's how it works. That's how an intrepid Nor's mind thinks. Here's my goal. Put the process and plan in place to achieve it. And then once I achieve it, what's my next step? That's awesome. Because I think you've from brewing bad home beer, from what you had said, to where you guys have come from, you guys have accomplished a hell of a lot in a short period of time.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate that.
Let me ask you just a quick question. Not to go against it. I saw the Funk Street Team. I was kind of curious on what that was.
Oh, that's what Vicky and I were talking about. So we were trying. So, well, I mean, sure, you guys talked about for 99, like, hey, I might steer away from a low calorie beer or a light beer, a light whatever. But once I taste it, I'm all in. Right. So that's the answer. And that's what Vicky does amazing, right? Setting up things and events and places for us to do that. And the tough thing is coverage. So we've been trying to find folks, right? And because there's so many people like, oh man, I really like your beers. I like this. I'd love, hey, if you ever need any help, like I'd love to. Yup. Right. So we've been trying to compile a street team of folks to say, hey, we'd love to do. And furthermore, if you go, I mean, you guys were just at that beer fest. It was a blast. And the two girls that went for us, they're awesome. And they're fans and friends of mine. And, but they had the best time. So it's going like, hey, people want to have the best time. So we're trying to marry those together and basically help folks try funk beer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of got that impression when I read about it, but I wanted to hear what you had to say about it. Plus the fact that it's good for everybody else to hear.
Yeah, go on our website, sign up, be on the street team. Go to beer fests for free. What's up?
Yeah, I like that idea. I wanted to be a judge.
No, Dave was asking when the auditions are.
Yeah. Can I come over? Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to be a judge. I wanted to be a beer judge because I thought maybe they gave you a badge or something like that. You could walk into any bar and just say, hey, I'm the beer judge. Bring your good stuff over here and I'm going to judge it. But
I've always wondered what you could get away with that way, right? If you had a badge that said that, how many places would you go? If you had a shirt that just said security and it was a little too tight, could you go into any concert? Right? If you just you were confident and you just looked like you knew what you're doing.
Looked like you knew what you were doing.
Staff.
Pretty soon everybody starts scammering around. Who's that guy over there?
Actually, the way to get past that is you walk up to somebody else like, hey, who the hell is that guy over there?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing him before in the team.
Yeah.
That's how you get away with it.
That's how you get away with it.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. That's a good move.
Yeah, I tell you what. So you want to become part of the Funky Town?
Yeah. Just don't ask me to sing. Yeah.
Take me to I'm not even gonna do it.
You're on your own on this.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
I tell you what, we've had a great time. I'm glad Vicky, aka Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kevin for the day.
Kevin for the day. I'll tell you what, it's much easier for me to look past Brett and see you over there than to see Kevin over there. I mean,
we've had a great time. Nora.
Likewise, this has been a pleasure and honor. I appreciate you guys tapping me for this, and yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Anything you want to add to your story before we get out of here and get to the last beer that we're going to try?
Shoot, I appreciate that, man. I feel like I spilled it pretty good. There's a lot of personal out there on the table.
Yeah,
So,
That's what people want to hear. They want to hear the people behind the beer.
yeah.
And that's kind of why we're doing this. We want to tell the story about who you guys are, what you're doing, and how you got to what what made this. And that's just why we're passionate about what we're doing, and we're passionate about telling your stories. And I know we've had people that come in the studio or sit here, remotely, and they're like deer in a headlight, and it's like, just relax. It's just a conversation. That's all.
Yeah, you're doing well.
You're doing well.
Man, if I can, and I'm sorry for not being able to be there live. If I can ever get back on, I want to get down there. I want to be in that studio.
Oh,
way better in person.
That invitation is way open.
Yeah,
that is always open.
Yeah.
So, and we'll have to have Vicky come back and be another guest host when that happens.
We need Vicky to come back
because she likes drinking IPAs.
I do.
Yeah.
I can drink them for Dave, so he doesn't have to.
Yeah, you could take my place. You could sit over here.
We could change seats.
Yeah, we could trade seats. You could sit over here.
So, Norm, tell us again about where they can find Funk Brewing. Physical locations. I do have it above us.
Social media wise.
Yeah, social media. I mean, who does your social media stuff? Where can they look for Funk Brewing?
Sure. Man, there's a lot of places. Hashtag funk spotting, right? So go to the main brewery in Emmaus. Go to the Slatington Farmers Market and check out Funk. By the time you're listening, go to the West End Funk Tap Room on Hamilton Boulevard. And if you're more central PA, which probably based on the name of this podcast, go to Pine Creek Spirits in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, because that place, besides having amazing spirits and a sparkly strawberry lemonade vodka, also features Funk as all of the beer, right? So you can run the gambit and get the feel of a Funk tap room at Pine Creek Spirits as well in central Pennsylvania. So
that's awesome. Vicky, any last comments before we get into the last beer?
Thank you for another fun podcast.
All right. Well, appreciate you sitting in and being a guest host and introducing us to Norm.
Yeah, it was a great mix.
Yeah. Dave, any last comments?
No, I had a good time, and I enjoyed this.
And if you can't really see it, but Dave actually finished all three glasses
he did.
so far.
I actually finished all my beer.
That's impressive.
Including a double IPA. Well, here's another double IPA, I guess, though, huh?
Well, the thing of it is they can't see. We have flight paddles down here, and they can't, and you can't see them. They're off camera, which is a good thing. But yeah, a lot of times I'll be at the end of the podcast and my glasses will be half full because a couple of them I didn't like, but a lot of them I do like. But these I enjoyed all these.
Tell your brewer kudos. We got to drink a non-IPA guy to finish his glasses. So.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. Speaking of our last beer, before we get out of here, what is going to be our last beer? It's a double citrus.
Yeah. So So citrus was the third beer we ever made. And we never stopped making it, citrus IPA, and it's awesome, and it's got grapefruit noses, the whole nine. So eventually we had to make double citrus, and double citrus was banging right out of the gate. And I hate being that guy that's like, well, I don't make it, I've never made it, right? But it's always been awesome. And 1 year, but it's had like a wild ride, right? So it won breweries. So it comes out every March. We do it once a year, every March. And it won the Breweries in PA March Madness bracket as best IPA.
Cool.
1 year. Yep. And then everybody murdered us because we didn't make enough. Like people couldn't get it. And it was like, oh, and like, and I get the conspiracy part, but we're not masterminds, but it was like, oh, you're just doing that. So that whatever. So we're like, you know what? We had just started to do it. And so another contract mistake. We're like, you know what? Everybody wants this beer so bad. Like, let's make a big batch somewhere else where we can't make it. Nightmare. And I mean, and shoot, by the way, well, luckily that was it was right before the world closed, by the way. I don't know if you remember 2020, but we did that. And so like it quickly, like gears shifted to something more important, but we were getting murdered for it. And it was a mistake. Don't do that. But we were just like, we intended well. Our intent was, hey, you guys love this beer. We want to make enough for you. We don't want you to be mad. And it just didn't, like, it just doesn't work. Sometimes science doesn't work. Like just the littlest things. Tank, the size and shape of a tank make things different. It makes yeast react differently in the whole nine. And so all that to say, it was a bad one, but we will never ever do that. That was one of the mistakes. Don't make a cool beer that you make in-house somewhere else, because it just won't be the same no matter what. Even if it's better, it won't be the same. So we've never done that again. I'm so excited for you to try this because I think this is the best double citrus that's ever been made, this batch. And it's pretty awesome.
Well, we're looking.
I did not bring one down, so I should have ran up and got one when we took a break. But
Norm, look, I appreciate you taking the time tonight to be on with us at the Central PA Pour. Vicky, we appreciate you stepping in and being a guest host.
You're welcome.
And that's invitation is open anytime. Norm, your invitation to come back and do it again in studio is even open and awesome, because I'd look forward to having it.
Yeah,
it's more fun in person, and we look forward to seeing more from Funk Brewing and whatever you guys are doing out there. So here's to the double citrus. If you're out there, let's raise a glass with Norm, Funk Brewing, Vicky from Brewery Products, and Dave and myself with the CPP. And let's all be bonded by beer.
Bonded by beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.